Welcome to the Social Ninjas podcast. I am your co-host Kyle. Join with me as always, Jeremy. What is up, Jeremy?
Sup, Kyle? It's good to see you again. Oh my gosh, you look great.
Oh, thank you. Just because I just woke up from a big long nap, so feeling good/weird. Anyways, we have an amazing guest with us today, Mikey Taylor. What's up, man?
What's going on, guys?
You know, just living.
I feel like I already know how fun this podcast is about to be, just by your guys' dynamic.
Okay, well, let's dive right into the fun. Mikey, if you could just tell us a little bit of your background and kind of what you're doing.
Yeah, my background started in skateboarding. I was lucky enough to turn a passion into a career. Started skateboarding when I was 12, 18, figured out how to make or convince my sponsors to pay me. That became my dream. And then I had to figure out what life was going to look like after my dream inevitably ended. And that led to me starting my own companies. And then career ended in 2016. And now I'm running one of the companies I started called Commune Capital.
What's Commune Capital, Mikey?
Funny you ask, Jeremy. When my career ended, I was fortunate enough to be in a pretty good scenario after it ended. And that was because I had great financial guidance throughout my career. And so I started a company to kind of help educate people on how to get their money to work for them. And then we also have an opportunity that people can participate with us in apartment building investing.
Interesting. So you talk about how you help people with, be able to have money, help them out, basically. What got you into wanting to do that? Is because you had that, amazing guidance yourself and you kind of wanted to give back in the same way you were given to?
Yes and no. It kind of, I didn't think I'd be doing this, truthfully. Like when I was skateboarding, I had somebody come into my life because my parents were terrified that I was going to be a pro skateboarder and not go to college and then go down kind of the conventional path. And so for my dad to find some comfort in me doing this, he was like, hey, you need to meet this guy, Randy. And if you can convince Randy to help you with your money, I'm going to feel more comfortable. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I met this guy and he basically became my mentor through the 15 years of me being a pro skateboarder. And in the beginning, it was kind of simple stuff. It was like, behavioral finance, living off less than I make, not increasing my lifestyle as I make more money, et cetera, and then investing in assets that would help me as a pro skateboarder continue on if my career ended sometime in my 30s. And so that's where it started. And then when I started my first business, it was this craft brewery called St. Archer. And, I really enjoyed the business process. And I thought, the next thing I did was just going to be in that kind of space. But when my career ended, I looked around at a lot of my friends and my peers, and I was in kind of a unique scenario that most skaters kind of don't end up in. And skateboarding such this kind of community element where we all do it together. We all kind of want to win together in a sense. And I just didn't feel like I was winning with all my friends. I felt like I was like isolated in a sense. And it was a blessing, but it just felt shitty, if that makes sense. So ultimately, it led me to try to figure out why I was in this position. If there was something I could do to help more of my friends kind of have a smooth transition once their career ended. And when I brought it all the way back to the beginning, it was really because I had somebody come into my life that taught me about money. And if it wasn't for him, I think I would have probably had to call one of my sponsors when my career ended and asked if I could work for them. That's usually the typical transition after our career ends. And so I wanted to just do something to kind of educate our community and kind of build an example of what you can do if you play it right. And so it just ended with, okay, well, if I start talking about money, that's one thing, but a lot of times you don't even know where to put that money. And I was also fortunate enough to have investments to participate in because Randy, the guy who helped me with my money, also ran real estate funds. So I had the education component with him. And then I had the opportunity that I could invest with him, which then brought passive income coming my way, which then career ends and I don't have to get a career afterward. So with all that said, through my experience and it being unique to our community, I wanted just more people to be in this position, you know?
Cool.
Does that make sense at all?
It makes total
Yeah.
sense. I'm curious. I'm just going to dive right in. As
Dive in.
a pro skateboarder, on my judgment, there's a lot of pressure going on for you. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just like measuring up to these expectations as you start, moving up the ladder and getting your sponsors and getting all your sorts of appearances. I'm gonna just kind of ask, like, how did you deal with that on a mental health level?
So, it starts off and it's really cool and exciting in the beginning, right? You're like, dude, people know who I am and like I'm in videos and this is like a dream come true. But it starts changing the love you have for your craft, right? Like when I was a kid, dude, I picked up a skateboard and just was able to do it whenever I wanted. I didn't have to land a trick a certain way. I didn't have to be anywhere. It was just purely the love of the sport, let's call it. And then when you get into sponsors requiring you to do things and you showing up to a skate park and, people looking at you and you feel like you always have to perform, it tweaks it, right? And I had a moment that probably lasted about 3 years where I was kind of miserable skating. It was like, I was probably breaking 2 boards a day out of anger, throwing shoes at, I was a psychopath. And it was really because my original passion or my original love for skateboarding had ended because it wasn't what it used to be. And I had to ultimately find a new reason to love it. And dude, it was a process. But what ended up happening is I started really enjoying the business element of a career. Like how could I build my brand? How could I be more involved with product sales? How could I get better at marketing, which would then turn into more sales, which would then better my brand? So that was kind of what transpired into the new love of it. But dude, it changes. I think that's why you see so many like hungry young kids come into the industry and then just fizzle out really quick because it's just not what it used to be.
Kind of like doing it for someone else as opposed to doing it for yourself.
That's right. But it's like, it's what you got to deal with. Hey, have you ever heard the story or do you know who Heath Kirchart is?
Yeah, I've heard his name.
So Heath Kirchart was one of the pros who kind of stepped away from skateboarding at a time where everyone felt like he shouldn't have stepped away. Like he was still so good. And basically what he told everybody was he was finding himself starting to hate skateboarding and resenting it. So he felt like it was better for him to step away from it as a career so that he could always preserve the love of skateboarding. And I think that just becomes the challenge when something turns into a career that you just enjoy prior to it being one.
So you said that moment lasted for about 3 years for you. So how did you transition back into loving skateboarding again, or what was that transition back?
So it's funny when it happens, you don't really notice it happening, right? Like you go from like, dude, I love skateboarding, this is a dream. And then like all of a sudden, you're complaining a little bit more and you're going through more boards. And before you know it, it feels like you're a different person now. And that's kind of what happened to me 4 years ago, but I didn't really think anything changed. And I was walking home from a Christmas party. I was sponsored by this shoe company called Etnies. And I was walking home
That's some Etnies.
Yeah, that's right. So Etnies every year, Soltech, they had a big Christmas party. So I went to the Christmas party. I was staying at a hotel. So I was walking to the hotel. This was like 2 a.m. And I don't know why, but as I was walking home, I was kind of just thinking about my life, like almost like evaluating it in a sense. And I had this moment where I was like, I don't really like who I am. Like this isn't who I'm supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be the dude who's like living out his dream, complaining every single day and breaking shit, just being ungrateful. Mm-hmm. And so it actually put me in tears. And I'm not even an emotional person, dude. In that moment when I'm like looking at myself going, you suck, I sat down on the curb, like in tears going, I have to change because this is such a wasted opportunity of what my life's supposed to become. And whatever, I went to sleep that night, I woke up the next morning, and that became kind of the beginning of me trying to change my situation in a sense. And so I started working on little things to like not complain as much, and then to be more grateful. And then the falling in love with the business element kind of happened because of that. And it was probably a 3-year journey from that kind of moment as well. So it's like 7 years total of me trying to, start this thing and then end up on a good path.
So you think that like not complaining and kind of changing the things around, was it more, did you make kind of a conscious effort to be more grateful for things, or like how did you make that shift? That seems like quite a shift.
So skateboarding, like there's so many great things about skateboarding, but one of the challenges by it we are haters. Like we hate everything and everyone, right? We're so critical. And because everybody's like that, it's so easy for that to kind of consume you as well. And so that kind of had happened. And that was just the thing that I was thinking about in my life. Like I just felt ungrateful, and I felt like I was always complaining. So the next day when I was like, okay, I need to start changing this, I just started simply saying, okay, if something bad happens today, I'm going to find something good in that bad situation. That's how it started.
Yes.
And even like, I remember there were some times where I was like, oh man, I am really reaching here. Like there is nothing good in this, but I'm just going to find something that doesn't really feel like something, but I'm going to find it. And basically what happened over a certain amount of time was I no longer had to try to see the good in things. It was like all of a sudden I only saw the good in things. Like I had trained myself to see the positive as opposed to harping on the negative. And then once that happened, and I think once you're in more of a grateful state of mind, not only are you more happy, but you start seeing things as opportunity as opposed to roadblocks.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I love what you just said. Jeremy and I talk about that a lot, and gratitude, something that comes up on the show just about from everybody, and across all sorts of industries. And to kind of speak more specific to the skating industry, you said it's kind of like a community, like everybody wants each other to win. With that, what's kind of like the mindset on mental health in the skating community? Is it something that's taken seriously, or is it something that people put effort into? Well, what's your thoughts?
No, there's not a ton of effort towards it. With skating, man, we put all our energy towards like being loved and being cool. And sometimes, and at least I guess I'll speak on my personality in particular. The challenge with that, being a pro skateboarder, especially if you perceive love by people praising you, it's so easy to lose who you are because all you're trying to do is find love in other people. And so that actually was a big challenge on my end. But I think like skaters, man, like, I don't know, man. I don't know if we're as a whole, like collectively at a point where we're like, okay, let's work on being happy and let's work on being grateful and let's work on being positive. I don't think skating's there yet. I think like it's still more of a negative, like anti everything else community, at least right now.
I'm going to play hardball here.
Okay,
so I heard you say we're kind of haters.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the source of that is a lack of liking yourself? Like you told me you kind of had a breakdown. You're like, I don't like who I am. Is it possible there's kind of that culture of, self dissatisfaction and people projected on others and with hate?
You know what? That's hard to say. I'm going all the way back to the beginning here. And I think part of it was like with skateboarding, at least the time that I got into it, which was in the mid 90s, mid to late 90s, skating was so small and it was so unaccepted by everybody, and everybody fucked with us, right? Like in high school, like we had no friends, like all of the jocks hated us. It was just our community that like kept us together in a sense, right? So I think because of that, we felt like it was like us against the world, which just gave you like this fight back mentality, if that makes sense. So I think that's kind of how it started. And then, in that time, there was this idea that like, if you don't check somebody who's whack, the whackness is going to overtake our world, right? It was like perceiving this
Don't
gem.
check someone who's
It's
whack.
similar to like surfing, right? Like, have you ever heard about like the surf spots, like the localized surf spots?
Yeah.
So in surfing, there's these localized surf spots because they don't want people to come blow out their spots, right? They don't want, like, what do they call them? The kooks. They don't want kooks to come out and blow out their spots. So they're dicks to everyone, and they check everyone because they don't want their gem to like be ruined. They're trying to preserve their sauce, That's kind of how skating was. It was like, we didn't want anybody like mainstream or like, these corporate kind of, whatever you want to call them, to come in and change our world. So like, there was such this like, oh no, you're doing that wrong. Don't do that. Oh, you can't do that. That's not acceptable. You can't do that. And then before you know it, it's like, it's imploding from the inside because like nothing can, be good enough.
Yeah.
And then I think you mix that with like a personality like mine, and like you start moving into like, I guess you call it love languages, right? It's like, my love language is words of affirmation. When people tell you you're doing good, that's when I feel love. So then you put me in a community of being a pro skateboarder where like kids are looking up to you and fans like, you rule. Now I'm like, now I really feel good, right? So you could see how there's two elements of it that could really challenge that personality.
I can see it being really rewarding, just having all sorts of people say, I love it. You're my favorite. Oh my gosh. Was it at times overstimulating?
Yeah, of course, sure. Yeah, dude. The problem is you can almost think of it as a drug, right? It's like you get so used to that feeling at a certain level, and the second you don't feel it at that level, it's like you're grabbing it, trying to get there again, and that's when you start compromising who you are. That's where the challenge lies, right? So I think it's like, it's cool. Like, dude, if people want to tell you good job, that's a great thing, right? You just need to make sure that like you're doing the thing you're meant to be doing, and then somebody is just giving you credit for what you're doing, as opposed to trying to do something to get the applaud or the love. So you just have to make sure you're aligned in what your why is.
I like that. I like that. We had a previous guest. He talks all about be so stringent in your why and your core values, and don't get steered off by external factors at all.
Yeah.
I got asked these two questions. My brother told me to. My brother loves you.
Tell your brother I love him. Thank you.
My brother and I skateboarded. My brother was like the best skater in the crew, but yeah, I looked. Anyways,
just so you know, I was not that guy.
You're like, I'm hanging out.
The best skaters in our crew was this kid Justin and this kid Van, and they were always the ones that were awesome, and I was always the one that was trying to be as good as them. So maybe that's how you were. Yeah,
I was like trying. I landed a kick flip. My brother's like, I just did a 360 flip, hard flip. I'm like, gosh, I was so proud.
I know what that feels like.
I did a sex change kick flip, and they're like, I just did a switch kick flip.
Yeah, I know what that feels like.
My brother wants to know if you still skate.
I still skate for fun, just not as much as maybe I'd like to at the moment.
And he wants to know, does the Barracks ever pay skaters for appearing in videos?
Oh, no, I don't think so, actually. Like the movie stars type guys? Like whenever like the...
I don't know. I'm just reading his question.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think all the people in the videos just kind of show up.
And then did they ever pay the hosts of segments like Retta or Donovan?
Oh, you know what? They I think we're paying them, but I don't know how much. That's a good question.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah. I think they were.
Got it. Cool.
Copy of their pay stub. So I wanted to ask, kind of what have been the changes that you've seen since you started skating in the early mid 90s to now? Well, what's been the change? Is there still like that kind of There's that community aspect, I assume, but is it still like kind of like us against the world type of mentality?
It's changed, man. It's changed a lot. So when I started skateboarding, we just weren't cool at all. Like no girlfriends, like not cool, right? And then I became pro, and skateboarding kind of started breaking into like the mainstream. And then all of a sudden, like I'd come back into town where I grew up, and like we'd go to a party, and all of a sudden, all the dudes that were like so mean to me in high school, I was like the man. Like we were bros all of a sudden, right? So that definitely happened through my time skateboarding. And then like there was this window, even with sponsors, right? Like when Nike broke into skateboarding, the first time they broke in, or the first time they tried to break in, we were like, nope.
No.
Then they tried to break in again, we're like, nope. And then they tried for the third time and then kind of broke in, but there was this like divide that like we don't want the corporations coming in, right? And then like even something like energy drinks, like when somebody rode for like Red Bull or Monster, like you would look at them like you're the biggest sellout. Like I can't believe you did that. But now like every kid rides for Monster or Red Bull, and it's not even like considered a bad thing anymore. So it's like that's definitely changed as well. I don't know if it's so much like us against the world anymore, because I think skateboarding's become so accepted. You just don't have that when you're loved. You have that when you're hated. And I think that's why we had it back in the day.
Yeah, I remember, didn't Costing go with Nike for a bit?
Yeah, he still rides from now.
He still does?
Well,
oh, wow.
yeah, and it's like now you look at the shoe companies, for example, it's like they're all bigger companies: Adidas, Converse, Nike, Vans. Like the small core shoe companies they're far and few between now. So that definitely changed as well.
I feel better because when I was skateboarding, I never had Nikes or anything. I was so anti Nike. I'm not gonna lie. I was the same way. I was like, I ain't not gonna wear Nike. What are you doing? Go back to basketball.
Yeah, so that changed. Like Nike's a huge part of skateboarding now.
Wow, I feel so old, Mikey.
Me too, brother. Me too.
I had my Chad Muskas with the tongue had a pocket in it.
The secret pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt special. So you want to, so you have your financial company, and make sure, what are some other companies you kind of want to talk about?
One of the companies we did was St. Archer. And that one, there were a bunch of skaters and surfers and snowboarders who were involved as investors. And we ended up selling that company, which is pretty cool. I do a small skateboard brand with some friends called Sovereign. But Commune is like that's my day-to-day. I spend all of my time on Commune. So that's definitely where the focus is.
St. Archer's. I like St. Archer's.
Yeah, that was a fun one. That was a really fun one.
That was a good one. Kyle's like, I'm in Indiana. I don't know what that is.
No St. Archer in Indiana yet.
No, we don't. Or we have the Louisville skate park. That's about the only thing I can think of skating wise that's anywhere near me.
Okay.
Louisville. I would go. Like when my brother and I and the fam would go on vacations, we'd always have to find a skate park. Like, we got to find a skate park wherever we are. Like,
really?
Canada.
I've been to Louisville Park a few times.
What?
So I know a lot of guys have. I know my brother met, what was his name, Chris Cole or something. He was really
Chris Cole. He's good.
Yeah. He still skates. He's still really good.
What? I was like, Carrie Getz, Jamie Thomas.
Yeah.
Man.
Jamie still skates too, man. Jamie's gonna skate forever.
What?
Yeah.
I'll never forget. Like, was it Welcome to Hell, where he does that Hallowed Be Thy Names playing in the background? He has that.
Yep. Iron Maiden.
Oh,
yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah. Jamie Thomas. Funny thing about Jamie Thomas was a pro skateboarder when I first started skating, and he's still a pro skateboarder once my career ended. So he had a career before me and after me. He's been here for a long time.
I mean, how long can you skateboard? Like, what's like the average lifetime of that career-wise?
Physically?
Yeah, I bet you some injuries.
Well, if you get through it, like, and you're totally healthy, you can make it to like mid to late 30s. Some guys go beyond that, but they're like there's a group of skaters that can be skaters forever. Like they don't have to compete like or do what the kids are doing. They're just like kind of cemented as skateboarding legends, and so they're good. The ones who aren't that, if you get past 35, that's like a grand slam.
I know, like Tony Hawk still messes around. He's up there.
Yeah, like Tony Hawk's in his 50s, but like Tony Hawk, it's like, you know, you have Tony Hawk, you have Mark Gonzalez, you have Steve Caballero, like Costin, Guy, Reynolds, like these guys are going to be pros probably forever. Like they've just are
In their
part
70s,
of that.
Reynolds like, come on, let's go, Costin.
Yeah, yeah, seriously. But like the guys aren't like that, like legendary group. It's hard to go. I think it's hard to go past 35.
What, Ronnie Mullen, is he still skating?
He'll skate forever. He'll be a pro forever.
Didn't he invent the kickflip?
Yeah, he's actually like, he's a genius, dude.
Jeez, he's so tech.
Yeah.
Anyways, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead, Kyle. I just gotta like.
No, I was thinking, so what would be your advice, especially handling like all the fame and all the different aspects to someone younger coming in to like kind of keep a hold of their mental health and keep in check so you're not going through that, you know, maybe something what you did where you kind of like woke up one day, but kind of started realizing one day, you know, hey, I don't like who I am right now.
Gosh, I would say one thing is probably surround yourself with people that will tell you how it is. Like a lot of times when you start making it, you start surrounding yourself by what we call yes men, or people that will just ride with you no matter what. Stay away from those people. You want to hang out with people that will challenge you, that sometimes will say things that you don't want to hear, and really like surround yourself by people that will keep you humble. I think that's a big one. And then on the other end, it's like, you know, part of it's just like you just got to go through it. You know, like I wouldn't be here if I wouldn't have gone through that challenge of like kind of losing myself in a sense. So yeah, I think just be aware of it. Surround yourself by good people.
Yeah, there's always going to be challenges. You obviously can't avoid all of them.
Yeah. I think people's a good one though. I think like having a good solid group of people is will keep you on the right line.
That's what Evan said.
Yeah, I think it's big. I mean, do think about it. It's like, who are we inspired by? Who do we, like when we think something's possible, who encourages us that we can do it? It's all who your core group is, right? It's like, if that core group is destructive, you're not really going to go anywhere. If that core group is motivating, you're going to go places. If that core group is nothing, then there's no point in having them around. You're on your own, you know?
So let me just ask, who inspires you?
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Besides the Social Ninjas podcast.
That's right. There's a few people that inspired me actually. And they come from different categories. I would say one person who has always inspired me is Paul Rodriguez.
Oh,
He was one of my friends that I grew up with. Yeah, I'm constantly inspired by Paul. One of my partners, Randy, who is my mentor,
Good old
constantly
Randy.
constantly inspired by him. There's a couple people in at least the investing world that I look up to on certain regards. You know, there's Ray Dalio, there's Robert Kiyosaki. Look up to Grant Cardone in a lot of ways of what he's built through social. Believe it or not, Jamie Thomas has been a massive inspiration to me.
Wow.
He was like one of the first people that I saw as a young skater who was doing more than just skating. He owned his companies. He was filming the guys, and he's been pretty massive for me. Same with Rob Dyrdek, actually.
Rob Dyrdek. I had issues too.
Yeah, Rob's been pretty influential in my life as well.
All right, I feel somewhat in the loop because I know who Rob is. So yeah.
Yes.
Rob Dyrdek is who turned me pro, actually.
What?
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's one of the first pros I met. Turned me pro, and then he was one of the guys who, you know, became more successful after skateboarding. So he's somebody who, like, I felt like I was always trying to keep up with even after skateboarding. So I'd say he's been a big inspiration as well. And then the social ninjas. The social ninjas have been big.
Social ninjas are the best.
They've been big. My guys, Double Jeremy, they've been big.
Inside joke for those that are not listening. We weren't recording back then.
That's right.
So what I'm curious, so you have these companies going. What kind of like how will you know you've made it in the sense of like the difference you're making in the world?
Oh, that's a good question. I think you know when you made it when the purpose and why you created is achieved. Right? It's like,
what's your purpose, Mike? Oof.
My purpose as a person or my purpose with the company?
Both.
My purpose as a company is to, and this is where the metric becomes hard. I want as many people as possible to achieve or be on the path to achieve financial freedom. That's the goal for us. The problem is, when is that successful? It might not ever be. Or when do I know I did it? I might not ever. But as long as I'm seeing new people get it, then that's more inspiration to keep going, right? My inspiration I should say my inspiration, my purpose as a person, I think my purpose is to glorify God in anything I do. I think that would probably be my purpose, whether it's friendship, my family, business, this podcast, be living a life that I'm supposed to be living.
Beautiful. You sold me. The Social Ninjas is now going to work with your company. Financial freedom, Kyle. Financial freedom, Kyle.
So this is something that's really cool, right? This is something that's awesome. There's a lot of skaters that'll reach out to me now that I never, ever would have thought would be following what I'm doing, right? Like cool ass dudes. And they're like, dude, I love what you're doing. Like, can I talk to you about something? And when you see like this, like switch, like, oh my gosh, like that's how this works. And then, you circle back 1-2 years later and they're on a totally different path. That's so rewarding, right? The person whose like career ends and they're like, oh my gosh, I get to choose to work now. That is so rewarding. So I would say anytime that happens, that's a push in the right direction. And the more frequent it happens, the more we're doing what we're meant to be doing.
Yeah. Just going back to Evan, he always says like, serve the person where you were 5 years ago or where you were in your most challenging moments in your life.
Yeah, that's right. 100%. Evan's got some gems, huh? Don't do the white backdrop. Good old Evan, dude.
He's one of the reasons I reached out to you.
Yeah, I love him. I didn't mean that negatively. I love him.
No. I feel like going back to like talking trash to people. There's a level of like playful banter I do like doing.
Yeah, 100%.
But that just means that I only do it if I really like you, though.
If I don't like you, man, I ain't even wasting my voice. I'm not even wasting my effort.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you a question we like to ask all our guests. If you had the ability to send one message to everybody in the world, what would that message be?
All of your energy should be put towards being happy.
All of your energy should be put towards being happy.
I like it. All right, Mike, you ready to go skate?
We going skating?
Let's go. Let's play. Let's go to the Barracks.
You know what I have? You know what I have at 6:00, which I lined up, which I'm going to get huge points for?
What?
A date with my wife, 6:00.
Oh,
That's right.
God,
That's right. That's right.
Looks like you got rejected, Jeremy.
Kyle knows what I'm talking about. With 3 kids, he knows the difference it'll make to find babysitters for the kids and take your wife out to dinner.
Oh, for sure.
That's big. Yeah,
Well,
that's gonna be a solid week.
Especially during COVID.
That's right. That's right.
It just means you got an S, whatever. I got Mikey Taylor and S. All right, so for if someone would like to find you on the social medias, where can they look?
You can look at all of them. I think Instagram's probably like the most convenient for everybody. It's just my name, Mikey Taylor. Spending a lot of time on TikTok right now, trying to get it in before it goes away. If it does, yep. Same. It's my name. If you get to my Instagram, you can pretty much find any other platform from there.
Got it. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. I'm not sure why I'm doing a British accent of a certain level, but I'm doing it anyways. And yeah, if you like our podcast, definitely give us a 5-star and a review saying best podcast ever, something simple. If you don't like our podcast, make sure to give us a 5-star and say something along the lines of probably the best podcast ever. All right, we'll see everybody next week.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Oh, yeah, don't forget. Oh, we have a Patreon too.
That's right. That's right.
Patreon, extra footage. Never before seen video. Join now, Patreon.